Welcome back to the Spiritual Ride. I'm your host, Alyssa LeBlanc. And this week, I'm going to give you a different take on how to manifest what you most desire in your life. You do not need to manifest anything. Everything that you desire and dream of and can imagine already exists. What do you need to do? You need to tune into the reality where it already exists because it exists on an alternate timeline. In fact, you couldn't even conceive of it if there wasn't a version of you already living that life. I've had this experience with dreams that I've had that ended up being different parallel versions of my life that now I'm living them, and I'm so grateful that I tuned into that reality and saw that it was possible. I was having these dreams because a different version of me was living it. This is also the same with when you just have daydreams about things that you desire for your life to be. When you hear other people talking about things that they have in their life, and you might even get a little jealous because it's something that you desire yourself, that's because another version of you already has it and you're feeling jealous that you're not experiencing it in this reality. So, according to quantum physics, there are like infinite realities where you exist and are having different experiences. And we're constantly moving through parallel realities. We're actually moving through them all the time. It's just that usually we're staying pretty consistent with the ones that are familiar to us because we're thinking the same thoughts, we're radiating the same vibration, we're making the same choices. So we're staying pretty consistent with the reality that is most consistent with our vibration, with our behaviors, with our thoughts, and with our actions. In most manifestation talk, it's talking about like, you have to go out and create something that you yourself have to make it happen. But when you realize that it already exists, that the universe has already created it for you, it just makes it so much easier to manifest the thing that you want. And a lot of what helps with manifestation is the belief that it's possible and this idea of ease. If you believe that something already exists, it's already easier for you to create because you realize that you are not alone in creating your reality. When you realize that like it's not up to you to make anything happen, it's not up to you to make the sun come out tomorrow, it's not up to you to create that life of yours. You just need to tune into it. It just gives you so much more freedom and so much more peace. And like I said, things come in easier. So I've definitely had experiences of quantum jumping, some really large and really weird where I could like feel that I was in a different reality. Like even one time where I live now, I remember when I was doing a lot of like shadow work, I was running and I run the same way every day. And I ran past this house and it was like different. All the other houses were the same, but this one house is different. I also have a friend that I knew 15 years ago and we hadn't seen each other in like 15 years. And I started having dreams about him. And we ended up connecting and going out to dinner. And I remembered that he had a koi fish tattoo on his arm. And I was like, "What happened to your koi fish tattoo?" And he's like, "I never had a tattoo there." And I'm like, "What are you talking about? You absolutely had a tattoo on your arm." And he's like, "No, I always wanted that tattoo and I never got it." And I realized that I had shifted so much from the reality where I knew him 15 years before. I was in a different reality. And at this time, a lot changed in my life. So it made sense that I made such a quantum leap. But what was also weird was it wasn't like he was like, he'd never thought of a koi tattoo. It wasn't like he didn't think about getting tattoos. He had other tattoos. It was a close enough reality that it had been a thought of his. And I even hung out with him and his daughter was like, "Yeah, dad, you always talked about getting that tattoo." So I was in a close enough reality where that possibility was in his mind, but I had shifted so much since 15 years before that I was now in a reality where he never got the tattoo. And it's like super weird. And so there's stuff like that happens. And people have asked me when I've told them this story, they say, like, "Well, do you have any pictures of you guys together? Did he have the tattoo?" First of all, this was like 15 years ago. People weren't like taking photos with their iPhones like they are now. You don't take pictures of everything. I think I had one of those little like digital things that, I had to get it printed out. But besides the fact, even if I did have pictures of us together, in the pictures that I had, he would wouldn't have had the tattoo because in this reality, I would have had objects that were like vibrationally in this reality, if that makes any sense. Quantum physics gets really, really weird, but it's also really, really exciting. I also think that when you're having deja vu, that's a sign of a quantum leap. What I attribute deja vu to is I'm on like the right timeline, or what I'm doing is like jumping me to the timeline I most want to be at, because sometimes it's something really dull and I think the universe is just like, hey, pay attention, like something is shifting. So that's always something good to pay attention to. Another feeling that I get when I'm quantum jumping or when I've shifted realities, like I said, it usually happens when I'm doing a lot of work, like spiritual work, plant medicine, shadow work, changing my vibration. So you are putting the work in to make a shift in your life. But I get this weird, like, feeling where it almost feels like I kind of fall into my body. So it's almost like I can feel the shift, the quantum jump. So those are ways to tell if you have quantum leapt. Some people get sick a lot. I think they have the belief that maybe there's like spiritual symptoms. What is that called? Ascension symptoms. So you might get like a flu-like feeling and you're just ascending spiritually. But I generally don't get sick, and it's because I've just have that belief that I really don't get sick. So that's not a way that I experience quantum jumping. But back to how you can align with the reality that you most want. Okay. So reality is a belief. What we manifest is made up of what we believe to be true, the vibration that we are emitting, the frequency that we're on, and choices and actions that we take. Think about this. You're going to take, I think a lot of times in spiritual talk, people don't like to think that you have to take action, or it seems like, well, if I was just vibrating high enough, maybe I could manifest it. And I think that you can. I think if you're vibrating something enough on the frequency, things can absolutely come to you. But the thing about action and choices is if you're believing enough that this reality is a possibility for you, you're going to take actions and make choices that are in alignment with that. Another step to really aligning with the reality that you want is acting like the person that lives in that reality. So that's going to also affect your actions and your choices. If you are feeling like you already have the desire you want, taking that action isn't going to be hard because that would be what is normal for you day to day. That would be what you would do in your life. The times that I have had the biggest quantum shifts, besides, like I said, doing like a lot of plant medicine work or shadow work, is also when I've made a choice that was different outside of this regular reality. One of the biggest quantum leaps I had was 2 years ago. I had just come back from an ayahuasca ceremony, so I was doing shadow work, but I got a direct message on Instagram from what I thought was a random girl saying like, "Oh, I saw all your ayahuasca videos on TikTok. I'm holding a retreat in Costa Rica in 2 weeks. Do you want to come?" I know, sounds a little scammy, but I'm a generator in human design. I felt like this like gut reaction that was really positive. I jumped on a Zoom call with her, but even before I got on the call, I knew I was supposed to be on that retreat. Ended up going to Costa Rica within 2 weeks. Like, I had hardly been out of the country at that point. Met the most amazing soul family, these people that I love dearly, and like they are my soul family. And as a result of going on that retreat, my whole life has changed in the last 2 years. And I think a lot had to do with I made a different choice than like a scared version of Alyssa would make. I wasn't thinking about how much it was going to cost, or that I was going to need to go in 2 weeks, or who was going to take care of my dog. It just was like, this is something that I need to do. And I was around people in such a high vibration, and we did a lot of spiritual work there too, that my life totally shifted. So making different choices can shift your life. Okay, let's go back to the first thing I said, belief. Belief is crucial in shifting your reality. And a lot of times why I say shadow work is like something that can be really beneficial to you is because it can help you change your beliefs. From the ages of 0 to 7, we get all this information and we're totally like unconscious to it. And we make decisions about how the world works and about ourselves as humans based on a lot of what happens from us to 0 to 7. Most stuff we don't even remember. There's actually, yeah, 0 to 7. There's actually a lot that actually happens while you're in your mother's womb. And I believe stuff from past lives. But just sticking with this lifetime, like there's things that I've had memories of and I've that I remember when I was in my mom's stomach and I've asked her about a certain energy that I felt regarding a certain situation and she confirmed that I was right. And she's like, "How did you know that?" So, the main thing to do is how do you know what you believe? Look at your reality. Your reality is what you believe to be possible. If you're desiring more and you are, you know, doing manifestation work or taking physical action and nothing's changing, it's most likely because of something that happened between the ages of 0 to 7. So it's really good to look at what you believe about relationships, look at what you believe about money, look at what you believe about yourself, and do the shadow work, the inner child healing to heal those beliefs so that you can believe that that which you desire is possible for you because the universe doesn't give us desires that are not possible for us. True soul desires are from the Father and they're meant to manifest in this life. We're meant to have these. They're like our guiding posts. I like to say like your desires are a safe compass to follow, but you need to clear out anything that tells you that it's not possible for you to manifest this. And a lot of times when we see other people experiencing what we want and we're jealous, that's also a signpost that, hey, you want that too. You're supposed to have that too. These people just have less belief that it's not possible for them. So change your limiting beliefs. Next is radiating on the frequency of that which you want. So shifting your vibration, shifting your frequency when you do shadow work and you release negative thoughts, feelings, and beliefs about yourself, your vibration does rise. Meditation is great. Yoga is great. Again, I love plant medicine. Spiritual practices raise your vibration. Their visualization, if you're feeling the feelings of what you want, you have to be feeling it. It's not enough to just see it in your mind. You've got to really feeling it. Joe Dispenza's meditations are huge for me. He puts you in this like zone where you're like not in this reality. And then you're able to focus on what you want and feel the feelings of having it. And that raises your frequency to be a match to that reality where it already exists. And that helps you quantum jump. Once you are clearing limiting beliefs and feeling the feelings of that, you're going to start acting more like the person that has what you want. You're going to make different choices. Your behavior is going to shift. And the next is listening to your intuition to know which actions to take, which pings to follow, where to go. And the universe is always guiding us. And it sometimes I can get down on myself because I'll be like, I know that I have received guidance from something and I didn't take it right away because I was still fearful. But the universe doesn't give up on us. If you have a desire, it's meant to manifest. If you have a desire, it exists on another timeline. So just know that it exists. And once you do these things to clear these beliefs within yourself and start radiating a higher frequency, you parallel jump to that reality where it exists. And then you know what happens? You get the thing and it starts feeling familiar because you're the type of person that has that thing. That's another thing is tricking, quote unquote, your mind into believing that something is familiar for you to have. Like, let's say you want to manifest a relationship and you don't have one, and you clear the limiting beliefs about why you don't think you can have a relationship. Clear the limiting beliefs about why you are unlovable. Clear all that trauma bond bullshit so you stop attracting toxic people that are usually reflecting back to you something from your childhood you need to heal. So thank them and be grateful because they're reflecting back to you what needs to be healed. Go ahead and heal that. And then start like feeling like someone that has that relationship. Like just start like you would no longer like let someone call you at 10 o'clock to hang out. Like fuck that. You would no longer, you know, if you're on a date with someone and it's not a match, you might just be like, you would no longer people please and feel the need to stay all night or feel the need to see them again. You would just feel like a person that would have a relationship would not accept certain behavior. You'll start to set boundaries. And then when you do manifest that wonderful person and you're living with them in your wonderful house, guess what? It starts to feel familiar because that you are the type of person that has that. And then that's amazing because there was a version of you that already had that. And when it was familiar enough for you, it became your reality. So look at things that you've manifested in your life that now are so cool, or maybe now are so normal, but you show yourself 10 years ago. And 10 years ago, you was like, oh my God, you have that car, you have that job, you have those friends, you're dating this person. And like a great exercise to think how a past version of self would look at that, because then you go, oh, I did jump to this timeline where this exists. And so what do? Look at the things you did to get you to that place where that amazing thing you manifested feels familiar, and do that with the next thing. And as spiritual beings having a human experience, like we're always evolving. So it's like I remember when I first moved to LA, I had like a studio apartment in Koreatown. But get this, I loved that fucking apartment. The first night that I was there, I didn't even have a bed yet. My mom was like staying in a hotel. I wanted to sleep on the floor in that apartment because I was so happy to be in LA. I was so happy to have my place. Who cares that it was like a studio? It was so exciting to me. And then I got to a point where I desired to have a different apartment and I manifested this apartment that I wanted in Park La Brea. If you live in the Los Angeles area, you know what I'm talking about because there was a version of me that lived there. So I don't even remember what I did. I mean, I know that I got a better job. I started making more money. I didn't really know about manifestation back then, but I guess I was doing it intuitively because I got that apartment and I loved that apartment and it was so great. And then it was time to I wanted to, live with a partner. And so I manifested that. And it's like I look at my home life, places I've lived in my life, and I kept expanding and then make growing into the person that could live where they live. And now I love where I live. It's my dream home. It's amazing, got these cool pictures behind me. It's amazing. But I had to grow into the person that was familiar for and that could hold the vibration of that's what I wanted. That's another thing. When you're quantum leaping, sometimes you might get something and then it goes away. People manifest stuff and it goes away. They did quantum leap to the reality where they had that thing, but they couldn't hold the frequency of the energy of that thing. Maybe they couldn't hold the belief. Like maybe their doubt started to creep in. Am I really worthy of this? But usually it's that you're not able to hold the frequency. So a lot of times we go through things spiritually because the universe is growing us into the frequency. So we think there's something that we desire and it seems like it's taking a long time, but it's just because we haven't actually vibrationally grown into the person that can hold on to it. And if it feels like your manifestations, quantum leaps, same thing. If it feels like it's taking a long time, maybe be grateful that the universe is wanting you to grow into someone expansive enough to hold on to that and to have that thing and have that be your norm. Because when I tell you the things that the timelines that I've jumped to where I have the things that are like the best things in my life, I look back on me 5 or 10 years ago when I was so desperate for these things and I could not have held on to those things. I could not have held on to an amazing relationship, a beautiful home life. Just there's so many things that I had to do so much healing, but now I'm grown into the person vibrationally and that I can hold it and it's normal and it feels good. So like if it feels like stuff's taking a long time, just do the spiritual work. Know that the universe just loves you and wants you to just grow into the person that can hold it. Because the higher your vibration, the happier you are anyway, the more of a blessing you are to other people. And then once you start to grow into one version of self, you start to desire something else on a higher timeline and you jump to that. So remember, you don't need to manifest anything. You just need to tune your frequency, beliefs, actions, choices, and behavior to the version of you that has that naturally, that it's familiar for. And another great practice, this is actually one of my favorites, is pick a song that reminds you of that aspect of your life that you want and just listen to it. And I do this when I'm driving and it works. I mean, your eyes are open, but you're feeling the feelings of the song because song makes you feel emotions, and just kind of picture your life like that. And you just start to play with it where you're just like daydreaming about your life and you use the same song over and over again, and a song that's going to evoke the emotions of what you want to experience. And I tell you, it works. And when you do it when you're driving, you're kind of in a hypnotic state anyways. This song will help you to get to that timeline because your daydreams are actually visions that are happening on the timeline of what you want. You can have what you want. Your desires are meant for you. Grow into the vibration of the person that can hold on to it. And have a beautiful week. Much love.